My name is Alison Gertz. My friends call me Allie. I live in New York. I'm 23 years old, and I have AIDS. At first, I found it all so unreal. I didn't want to believe this was happening to me. I couldn't see how this illness had found its way to me. I'd never used drugs intravenously. I had long-term relationships. I was not a promiscuous person. And I've never had a blood transfusion. It all started about a year ago, when I started to feel unwell, with a fever and other symptoms. The fever dragged on, and medication didn't have any effect on my condition. I went into a hospital where it was thought I had Hodgkin's disease, a form of cancer. I underwent further exhaustive and unpleasant examinations. Then one day, the doctor came to me and told me that I had AIDS. I was angry at the unfairness of life. My illness was traced back to one sexual encounter that I had 7 years ago. I was 16 years old and in love with an older man. This man had since died of AIDS, something that I'd been unaware of all these years. AIDS was not an issue at that time. It had not found its way into the media. After the initial shock, the first thought that came to my mind was that I was going to die. But at the same time, I didn't feel this was true. I felt like two different people. One whose life was over, and the other, the positive, optimistic person that I am, who said, I'm going to fight back. I have an upper middle class background. My parents are a prominent New York family. I'm an only child. My illness was an enormous shock to my parents. They heard the word AIDS and death came to mind. I had to deal with their grief and that of my friends and relatives. My father cried a lot, and my mother was quiet and withdrawn. My parents live a block away. My mother calls several times a day to see how I'm feeling. I see my father once or twice a week. My parents thought this disease could only happen to someone else's child. My father thought the statistics on AIDS had always been magnified in order to get more research money. Now, Mom and Dad are helping to raise money for research to fight against the disease. We discuss a lot, but don't waste our time arguing. Time through my illness has become precious.
Hi.
How you doing?
How are you?
Okay, it's good to see you. You look pretty good there.
Good.
How is my friend Saki? Are you doing okay?
He's good.
Yeah? Happy to see me?
So you have a lot of work to do?
A big shopping vehicle.
Okay.
Saki, we don't have anything for you. Nothing.
Maybe I should put a file in here for...
A few months after learning that I had AIDS, and after talking to my parents, I decided to go public.
Yeah,
I thought that in going public, I could help other people avoid the disease.
need reply.
I've appeared on TV and in radio programs, and I've given interviews to several newspapers and magazines. I receive hundreds of letters from people, some in the same situation as I am.
We can put them in there, we'll put a note on it.
Every day I get requests to do other articles and talk to different societies and institutions. My health and the time necessary doesn't allow me to satisfy all these requests. So Chris, an old friend of the family, helps me go through them and advises me.
Okay.
This is Princeton I've taken care of. There is a person from U.S. News and World Report
Yeah.
who would like to interview you on the phone. He is doing a piece on AIDS and the fact that it's continually stressed as a minority disease, the disease of the minority community. And he certainly believes that you would be able to certainly dispel that myth, and that it is a people problem and it's not focused on one race.
Right.
I think he's worth your calling and having a 10 to 15 minute interview with on the phone.
So what file does this go under?
Pending media interviews.
I should write this down so that I know. I have to make files for these things, so...
This is a very nice letter from a young man who saw your story in Esquire. That was a very nice letter from this young man.
I still have to write a thank you note to those guys.
I have stationery to be printed over. I should have it next week, tomorrow.
Right.
He just wanted to send you his regards. This guy doesn't want anything. It's nice when they don't want something.
Oh, everybody's praying for me. Isn't that nice? Well, if prayers work, then I'm surely going to be okay.
This is a student at Columbia who is doing he's doing a research paper and would like to interview you about AIDS.
Please. Having problems.
I think this is thanks, but I'm sorry we can't do this. I think you just have to draw lines here.
What do we put this in, though?
I think almost a form letter has to get written up because it's...
That should say, basically, I'm sorry we would be unable to help you.
At this time, Allie is quite...
inundated.
Quite overwhelmed with a lot of projects she's working on, and I'll work out some language
letters
for you.
that need responses.
I'm worried that because of my illness, I may not be able to do all the things I want to. I will be talking to students at colleges and universities. I hope that my personal story will convince them to be more responsible. You can't tell if a person has AIDS just by looking at him or her. I don't look ill. I've made a public service radio spot to try to get this message across to young people.
My name is Allie Gertz, and I'm 23 years old, and I have AIDS. A while back, I slept with a man. I slept with him one night, that was all, and I got AIDS. One night of passion these days can lead to death. Part of being young is being able to be carefree, and part of AIDS is giving that up. You have to take precautions. You have to use condoms. You have to be careful of who you're sleeping with. You have to think more carefully about what you're doing and when you're doing it. How do you know the person you're sleeping with doesn't carry this deadly disease? If that person only slept with one other person, how many people did that one other person sleep with? Nobody is immune to this disease. Nobody. It's a disease that hits us all. It's a disease that shows no preference to sexual behavior or money or poverty. It's a disease that really just exploits humans.
Every day I take different sorts of medication to help me deal with my illness. I have frequent medical checkups to see if my blood count is at the right level. If it were to get low, it would weaken my resistance to infection. There are moments when you are angry, very angry, that this illness has happened. There are things that are missing in my life, and things that upset me. Sometimes I need a moment where I can be alone and perhaps shed tears and give vent to my emotions. It can be very lonely to be a 23-year-old woman who has friends who are dating and getting married. There are times when you can't sleep and when you don't want to wake up in the morning. My boyfriend and I had been together for 3.5 years, but decided that since I was sick, we should not sleep together anymore, even if we were careful. He was frightened, and I can understand. It was very hard for both of us. I try to keep myself busy so I don't have time to think about these things. Otherwise, I fall into a sort of self-pity that immobilizes me. I've set up an organization called Love Heals. I decided that this was to be my vocation in life, to help people who are sick and don't have as much support as I do. Another reason I set up Love Heals was for public awareness. People have a lot of misconceptions about how AIDS is spread. I tell them you can't be infected from knives and forks and casual kissing, nor from toilet seats, public transport, sneezing and shaking hands, or any casual contacts. The disease is spread through sexual intercourse, through blood, or from an infected mother to her child. People have this irrational fear of being infected with AIDS through social contacts. There are many people with AIDS who are alone and afraid of dying, and no one will touch them or hold them out of fear. I trained to be an artist, but for now I've put that aside. I'm busy writing a book based on my diaries that will be published in the future. It's basically about adversity and triumph. Through it, I'd like to give other people some hope in life.
Yeah.
Most of the friends I had before my illness have stayed my friends.
This is your program show.
Wow.
I'm really glad it's over.
320 people, huh? And then the other guys, there were people standing?
Yeah,
Who was standing?
there were actually 380.
Wow.
A lot of people came. Mary McFadden came with her new husband. It was
Yeah.
nice and cute. And I was happy. I just wish.
People who I loved and were part of my life in the past are now so
Roger's voice is
to a
great.
much greater
Absolutely
degree.
great. People were shouting in the audience. It's really good.
Bravo, you mean?
Bravo, yeah, they made the whole cast come back on for another ovation.
That's great. That's great.
Victoria has been a friend for years.
At MK?
Yeah.
Did Hillary and Will go to MK?
No, I don't think so.
Just went to the show.
She looks good.
Does she?
Yeah, she's sort of looking ready to get married.
Huh.
My friends realize
Yeah, I don't know.
that they could have easily been in the same situation as I am.
Yeah, ready to be loved.
3 months away.
Yeah.
We're gonna really need that weekend. I'm gonna really need that weekend.
Yeah, for you, one wedding right into another.
Well, it's 3 months away. It's not,
Yeah,
This
I have
week-
this wedding in December and then a wedding in May. I want to find a boyfriend. I hate all this stuff. It's really
Who's getting married in
obnoxious.
May?
My friend Rosie in Bermuda. The
In
other one
Bermuda. Oh, right, you told me about that. Both
it'll be
getting
very
married in
different.
Bermuda.
This will be
That is
sleeping on the beach. This will be really a budget wedding.
A hippie wedding? How
Yeah,
many
yeah.
people?
She wants to have like a chocolate and
My friends have become more cautious in their own sexual activities since learning of my illness.
everybody's for it. I mean, that'll be funny. It'll be
Right.
so different than Hillary's.
Yeah, this is gonna be a real blowout wedding.
C'est la vie. Oh, and I hope there's someone there who we can all get crushes on. God, I hope it's not only couples. That'll be really depressing. Otherwise, we'll have to bring our own whatever. I won't even say it. But anyway, yeah.
So what are you gonna have Gordon do for?
There's something gold was like sort of like I want something strapless, like in gold and tight and big and puffy,
Big and puffy
something
and
that
tight?
like when Prince Charming sees me, he goes, I want this woman.
Long?
Long, yeah,
Yeah.
long and full, long and on the beach,
Okay.
romantic, yeah.
We all have to die sometime, but I don't plan on dying in the near future. When I see someone dying from this illness, I feel for that person and what he or she has been through. I don't think, it could be me, or I'm next. Death has never really frightened me. I've always thought of it as a transition from one life to another, and I don't fear that. I am, however, frightened of pain, of suffering. I have a friend who's getting married. I'm going to be maid of honor. And I'd like to look my best. There are things that I'll have to postpone in my life for the moment. I'd like to get married and have children and live in the country with my animals. I believe I will, and that science will come up with an answer. My name is Alison Gertz. My friends call me Allie. I'm 23 years old. When AIDS struck, I was just starting out in life. I live in New York, but I realize that all over the world, people with AIDS need to be loved and cared for.